Shao Jiuniang. It is said that there was a man named Chai Tingbin in Taiping. His wife's surname was Jin. She couldn't have children when she got married, and she was very jealous. In order to have a child, Chai Tingbin spent a lot of money to buy a little wife, but Jin abused her severely and died within a year. Chai Tingbin was so angry that he slept alone for several months and never entered his wife's house again. On this day, Chai Tingbin celebrated his birthday. His wife spoke kindly to him and congratulated him with generous gifts. Chai couldn't bear to refuse, so he started talking and laughing with her again. His wife held a banquet in the bedroom and invited him in, but he refused to go because he was drunk. Jin dressed up beautifully and went to her husband's room again and said, "I have been waiting for you all day for your birthday. Even if you are really drunk, please go and have a drink." Chai Tingbin then entered bedroom, drinking wine and talking to his wife. Jin said calmly, "Last time, the concubine you bought died. I still regret it now, but you have forgotten your grudge. Do you have no love for marriage at all? From now on, you will find 12. I won't tell you anything about women." Chai Tingbin was even more happy after hearing this, so he stayed in his wife's bedroom and slept with her. And from then on they fell in love with each other as before. So Jin secretly asked the matchmaker to find a good woman for her husband, but secretly told the matchmaker to delay and not tell her husband even if she did find a good woman. She pretended to be anxious to urge the matchmaker. After more than a year of this, Chai Tingbin became impatient and asked relatives and friends to spend money to buy a concubine. As expected, he bought an adopted daughter of the Lin family. When Jin saw it, he seemed to like it very much and asked Lin and B to have dinner with him. All cosmetics and jewelry were used by Lin and B. Lin and B is an illegitimate daughter adopted by the Lin family. She has never learned needlework. Except for embroidering shoes, she has to rely on others for other clothing. Jin criticized her and said, "My family has always been frugal. Unlike the princes and nobles who want you to look at it as a painting." He gave her some beautiful floral silks and satins and told her to imitate female celebrities like a strict teacher teaching students. At first it was just a few words of reprimand, but later it gradually progressed to being beaten with a whip. When Chai Tingbin saw it, he felt distressed and had no choice. Mr. Jin was more protective of Lin Nu than before. He often dressed her up, helped her wear clothes, and applied powder to her. There was only one thing: if the heels of Lin's shoes were even a little wrinkled, Jin would hit her feet with an iron rod. If her hair was a little messy, he would slap her face with a slap. The Lins couldn't bear it anymore and finally hang themselves to death. Chai Tingbin felt very sad and said something to complain about his wife. After hearing this, Mrs. Jin got angry and said, "Is it wrong for me to train women for you?" At this time, Chai Tingbin understood his wife's sinister intentions, fell out with her again, vowed to sever the relationship between husband and wife forever, and secretly a house was built on a piece of land. And he planned to buy another woman and live a different life. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed, and no one was found. On this day, Chai Tingbin attended the funeral of a friend and saw a dazzlingly beautiful girl of 16 or 17 years old. Chai Tingbin's eyes were so straight that his soul ran away. The girl didn't like what he was doing, so she turned her eyes away and ignored him. When Chai Tingbin inquired about it, he found out that the girl's surname was Shao and her father was poor. She was the only daughter who had been very smart since she was a child and had an unforgettable memory of reading. She especially loved to read Neijing and Bingshu. Her father doted on her very much. Anyone who came to matchmaking was called. She made her own decision. But neither the son of a rich family nor the son of a poor family agreed, so she still hadn't decided on her husband's family at the age of 17. Chai Tingbin knew these circumstances and understood that this was a girl who would not be easy to marry. But her shadow always lingered in my heart, and I hoped that because my family was poor, giving her more money might be able to win her heart, so I asked a matchmaker to talk to her. After looking for several people, no one dared to be a matchmaker, so Chai became discouraged and gave up hope. One day, a matchmaker named Jia suddenly passed by the Chai family for selling pearls. Chai Tingbin told her his wish, gave her a lot of money, and said, "I just ask you to inform the Shao family of my wishes." I don't blame you if it doesn't work out. If there is hope of success, I don't care no matter how much you spend. Matchmaker Jia was greedy for money and agreed to him. When I arrived at Shao's house, I consciously had a family affair with Shao's mother. During the conversation, he accidentally saw her beautiful daughter. She pretended to be surprised and said, "What a handsome daughter. If she is chosen to be admitted to Jiuyang court, what do the sisters of the Zhao family mean to her?" Then she deliberately asked, "Whose son-in-law is the son-in-law?" Shao's mother said, "I haven't found anyone yet." Grandma Jia said, "Such a good girl. How can she still worry about not finding a prince as her son-in-law?" Shao's mother sighed and said, "We don't dare to reach out to princes and nobles. We just want to find someone who knows us. The descendant of Shu Shili is not bad. This little enemy of my family has been given a lot of matchmakers. I have been picking and choosing, but I haven't picked 1 out of 10, and I don't know what kind of marriage she wants." Matchmaker Jia said, "Madam, don't worry. With such a good girl, I don't know which family has cultivated so many virtues in previous lives to be lucky enough to marry her. Yesterday, there was something funny. Whose family did the scholar named Chai Tingbin belong to? I saw your girl at the funeral, fell in love with her, and said she would rather pay 1,000 gold betrothal gift. Isn't this a toad wanting to eat swan meat? It's so ridiculous. I should have told you to ridicule her and run away." After hearing this, Shao's mother smiled and said nothing. Grandma Jia added, "There is no need to talk about poor scholars in general. If a rich family, even if they are not scholars, want to be rich, it seems okay." Mother Shao still only smiled and said nothing, making people unable to understand her. That Matchmaker Jia suddenly clapped her hands, pretending to think that Shao's mother had agreed with her point of view, and said, "Oh, if that's true, it won't be worthwhile for me. Think about it. Even though, madam, you have no heirs, I come and have a chat with me over tea and wine. If you have rich relatives, and there are carriages and horses coming and going, and all the people coming and going are wealthy people, I will come again. I am afraid that your servant who looks after the gate will still think I am poor. You are scolding me." After hearing this, Shao's mother pondered for a long time, then got up and went to the back hall to talk to her husband. After a while, they heard their daughter being called. After a while, Shao's mother came out with her husband and daughter. She smiled and said to Grandma Jia, "Do you think this girl is strange? There are many good families who don't want to marry. I heard that I want to be a concubine, but I am willing. Aren't you going to be a joke to other scholars?" Grandma Jia said, "It doesn't matter. After passing the door, if a boy is born, what can the wife of the wife do to her?" After saying that, she conveyed that Chai Tingbin was going to place her daughter in another house. The meaning of Chu Fang's eye, Shao's mother was even more happy and said to her daughter, "Daughter, please make a promise to Grandma Jia. You agreed to this marriage on your own and you will not regret it. If things don't go your way in the future, you will not blame your parents." Shao's mother said a little embarrassedly, "Don't worry, father and mother. From now on, my daughter will definitely respect her two elders. She knows that her life is not good. If she finds a good family, she will not live long. If she finds a not so good family, she will suffer a little and suffer some grievances. It's a bad thing. The last time I met Mr. Chai, he looked like a blessed man. And his children and grandchildren will definitely be successful." After hearing this, Matchmaker Jia was so happy that she went to tell Chai Tingbin. Chai Tingbin was overjoyed and immediately paid 1,000 gold betrothal gift, and used a luxurious carriage and horse to marry Shao Nu to the villa. Except for the Jin family, everyone in the Chai family knew about this matter, but no one dared to say anything. After settling down, Shao Nu said to her husband, "Mr. Lang, your method is like a swallow building its nest on the fluttering cloth. It won't grow. You also asked your family not to leak the news. How can you hide such a thing forever? Impossible. In my opinion, it would be better to go home early and the disaster would be less." Chai Tingbin was afraid that she would be abused by the Jin family. Shao Nu said, "There is no one in the world who cannot be influenced. If I am careful not to make mistakes, what reason is there for abusing me?" Chai Yambin agreed with her reasoning, but did not dare to act on it. On this day, Chai was not at home for something. Shao Nu put on simple clothes, ordered an old male servant to lead an old horse, and ordered an old maid to bring a baggage. They decisively arrived at Jin's residence and knelt down to explain how she got there. The Jin family told the truth about why they lived in another courtyard. Only then did Jin know that there was such a thing, and that it had developed to such an extent. He was still kept in the dark, and he was immediately furious. When I'm about to get angry with Shao Nu, I can be forgiven if I think of someone taking the initiative to confess to me. Seeing that she was dressed simply and with a humble attitude, his anger subsided a little. So he ordered the girl to bring her good clothes to change, and said angrily, "This heartless person named Chai tells outsiders how cruel I am, but I am innocent. He was being chewed over for no reason, in fact. It was all his fault, and that bitch is angry me. Think about it. If you go behind your wife's back and find another woman, is this still considered a human being?" Shao Nu said, "I observed him carefully, and he seemed a little bit. I regret it, but I just can't let go of my macho pretensions and refuse to admit my mistakes in front of you. As the saying goes, the older one does not bow to the younger one. According to common etiquette, the size of a wife and her husband is like a son and his father, a concubine and his wife. If madam, please calm down a little and give him a good look, and the estrangement between me and the past will be eliminated." Jin said, "If he doesn't come by himself, who will I show my good face to?" At this time, Jin felt calm. Seeing that Shao Nu was kneeling in a state of disarray, he ordered the maid to tidy up Shao Nu's room and asked her to stay. "Although I still feel uncomfortable in my heart, I am finally safe for the time being." When Chai Yanbin came back from a trip, he heard that Shao Nu had arrived at the Jin family. He was frightened and thought that if the sheep had entered the tiger group, the Jin family would have chewed them to pieces. He hurried over and entered the door. He was relieved when he saw that there was no movement at home. Shao Nu met him at the door and advised him to go to the Jin family quickly. Chai Yanbin was a little embarrassed, and Shao Nu shed tears. Only then did Chai Yanbin accept her suggestion. Shao Nu came to Jin again and said, "Chai Lang is back. I feel ashamed to see you. I beg you to give him a smile and a kind word." Jin heard that Chai was back. "I felt angry in my heart and refused to let it go." Shao Nu further advised, "Didn't I say that there are differences between husbands and wives? In ancient times, there was a woman named Meng Guang who treated her husband with great respect. Whenever she had a meal, she would hold the meal high in her forehead in front of her husband. Others knew about it and didn't think it was a loss of face. Why? Because what she did was in line with her status as a wife and in line with the great etiquette. Madam, you take the initiative to see Chai Lang without losing your status." Jin finally obeyed. Got her. When she saw her husband, Jin said angrily, "Okay, since you have 3 nests like a rabbit, why do you come back?" Chai Yanbin lowered his head and said nothing. Shao Nu quickly touched him with her elbow, and he smiled helplessly. When his wife saw that he was smiling, her attitude softened. "Turn round and go back to the house." Shao Nu pushed Chai Yanbin to follow quickly, and at the same time, ordered the cook to prepare food and wine, and asked them to drink a few glasses together. From then on, the couple reconciled as before. Shao Nu got up early every day and went to say hello to Jin, washed her face, handed her a towel after washing her face, and showed respect to Jin like a maid. When Chai Yanbin wanted to come to her house, she refused, and it took more than 10 days to let her stay overnight. Therefore, Jin also felt that she was virtuous and polite. But she also felt that she was not as good as Shao Nu, and the shame gradually accumulated into jealousy. However, Shao Nu was always cautious and could not find anything wrong with her, occasionally scolded her, but she listened submissively. One night, Chai and Jin had a quarrel. When Mrs. Jin got up and was dressing her hair, Ms. Shao accidentally dropped the mirror she was combing her hair on and broke it. Jin immediately became furious, clutching her uncombed hair, and her eyes almost popped out. Shao Nu was so frightened that she quickly knelt down and begged for mercy. Jin finally grabbed her handle and refused to let her go. He picked up the whip and gave her a beating. Chai Yanbin couldn't stand it anymore, so he ran over and pulled Shao Nu out of the house. Jin cursed and continued to chase and beat him. Chai Yanbin became anxious, grabbed the whip and whipped her until her face bled. And then she returned to the room. Husband and wife are like enemies again. From then on, Chai Tingbin did not allow Shao Nu to go to Jin's house again. Shao Nu refused to listen. Early the next morning, she knelt on her knees and walked to the door of the Jin family, waiting for her to get up so that she could serve her. When Jin knew it was Shao Nu, she beat the bed and scolded her, telling her to get out. She hated Shao Nu so much that she gritted her teeth. She made up her mind to punish her severely when her husband was not at home. Chai Tingbin knew that she had this idea, so he simply didn't go out and had no contact with the outside world. Jin beat the maid every day to vent his anger, which made people complain incessantly. Since the couple broke up, Shao Nu didn't dare to stay with Chai Tingbin at night. As a result, Chai Tingbin stayed alone every night. After Mrs. Jin found out, she understood that her husband was not monopolized by Shao Nu, and she felt a little better. The Chai family has an older maid who is very skilled. Once, she accidentally exchanged a word with her master. When Kim found out, he suspected that she was having an affair with her husband and beat her severely. She hates that her maid often scolds her behind her back. On this day, it was the maid's turn to serve Jin at night. Shao Nu asked Chai Tingbin, "Don't go to madam's room tonight. I see that the maid has murderous intent on her face. I don't know what she is thinking." Chai Tingbin thought it was reasonable, so he called the maid over and asked her falsely, "What do you want to do tonight? What are you doing?" The maid thought that her master had discovered her secret, and was so frightened that she could not speak. Seeing her pretense, Chai Tingbin became even more confused. He searched her body and found that she was carrying a sharp knife. At this time, the maidservant had nothing to say, so she knelt down and begged for mercy, saying, "I deserve to die, I deserve to die." Chai wanted to hit her, but Shao Nu tried to dissuade her by saying, "Don't be busy. Once you hit her, the matter will become public. If Mrs. Do you know, can this slave girl survive? Of course her sin is unforgivable. I think it is better to sell her, which can save her life, and earn some income for our family, right?" Chai Tingbin agreed, and there happened to be someone when the family wanted to buy a concubine. Chai quickly sold her. When Mrs. Jin found out that the maid was missing, she asked about it and found out that her husband had sold her. She blamed her husband for not consulting her. She also heard that her husband had adopted Shao Nu's opinion, so she blamed Shao Nu and scolded her with very vicious words. Even Chai Tingbin complained about Shao Nu. "You brought it all on yourself. If you had ignored your own business and allowed the maid to kill her, why would you have had all these troubles?" Jin felt strange after hearing the word kill. "I asked my servants, but no one knew," asked Shao Nu. Shao Nu would not say anything. Jin was puzzled and angry, holding up her skirt and jumping on her feet to curse. Chai Tingbin couldn't stand it, so he told her the truth. Jin was shocked, and then realized that Shao Nu had saved her, so she became gentler to Shao Nu. But in her heart she blamed Shao Nu for not telling her earlier. Seeing that Jin's attitude had softened, Chai Tingbin thought everything was fine and went away. While her husband was not at home, Mrs. Jin called Shao Nu to scold her. "I shouldn't have spared that little hooves who wanted to kill me. Why did you let her go?" Shao Nu couldn't find the right answer for a while. Jin thought, "It's not the one who caught you this time. You vented your anger on the servant who killed the master. I have to punish you severely." He burned the iron red and burned Shao Nu's face, hoping to disfigure her face. All the maids in the house felt sorry for Shao Nu. Every time she was burned, Shao Nu wailed, and the servants cried and begged to be tortured on Shao Nu's behalf. Jin refused, so she used a needle to prick Shao Nu's chest and ribs, stabbing her more than 20 times. Then she felt angry and said, "Get out." After some time, Chai Tingbin came back. Seeing that Shao Nu had burns on her face, she asked why, and was so angry that she immediately wanted to settle the score with Jin. Shao Nu grabbed his clothes and persuaded him, "I voluntarily came to jump into this fire pit. Is it because your home is a paradise that I married you? I know that my fate is not good, and I can only find punishment to relieve God's anger. As long as if you can bear it, maybe you can get ahead." If you offend God again, wouldn't it be like filling a hole halfway and digging it again in vain? She applied scalding medicine on herself, and it healed in a few days. He looked in the mirror and said happily, "Jiuniang, congratulate me. Madam's branding has broken the unlucky lines on my face." Then he served Jin family as usual. When Jin saw that all the servants in the family were crying and begging for Shao Nu, she realized that everyone hated her and felt a little regretful, so she often asked Shao Nu to do things with her in a friendly manner. More than a month later, Jin suddenly suffered from hiccups. "I burp violently as soon as I eat, which affects my diet." Jiuniang originally hated her for dying late and didn't care about her illness at all. Her belly swelled to the size of a drum after a few days. "All I want to do is sleep all day long and I can't get out of bed." Shao Nu didn't care about eating or resting, so she waited on her. She was very grateful, and Shao Nu told her some medical principles. But Jin was suspicious. "I had been too cruel to her in the past. Would she poison me with poison?" Jin didn't listen to Shao Nu's medical advice and even pretended to be grateful. Of course, his illness didn't get better. Although everyone hates Mrs. Jin, she still has advantages. That is, she is very strict in running the house and her servants obey her. After she got sick, she could not interfere with the housekeeping, and the servants became lazy. There are some jobs that no one is doing. Jiuniang had to manage it by himself. He was too tired and couldn't manage it well. Some people even stole things. Only then did Jiuniang feel the importance of Jin as the head of the family, so he seriously asked a doctor to treat her. Jin didn't know much about his illness. When others asked about it, he just said he had a qi drum. The doctors diagnosed him as having accumulated qi. "I tried several doctors, but nothing worked. The disease is getting worse and worse, and I am almost dying." That day, the medicine was boiled again, and Shao Nu suggested the medicine prescribed by the doctor will not be effective even if you take 100 doses, and it will even become heavier the more you take it. Jin didn't believe it, and asked her to cook it according to the old prescription. Shao Nu secretly changed the prescription, and Jin took it. After 3 meals, she felt better immediately. She laughed at what Shao Nu said just now, and the old prescription was better. She also laughed and satirized her. "Hey, you, how about this girl Hua too?" Shao Nu and the servant couldn't help laughing. Jin was laughed at inexplicably, and when she asked more questions, Shao Nu told the truth. Jin was moved and said, "Damn it. I am loved and cared for by you every day, but you are still kept in the dark. From today on, everything at home will be at your discretion." Soon, the illness was completely cured. Jiuniang happily held a banquet to celebrate her, while Shao Nu stood holding the wine pot. Jin refused to let her go, so she took the wine bottle and pulled Shao Nu to sit down next to her, making her extremely intimate. Late at night, it was time to rest, and Shao Nu found an excuse to leave so that the couple could sleep together. Jin refused to comply and sent 2 maids to grab Shao Nu and force her to sleep with him. From then on, the two of them ate, lived, and discussed together, making them better than sisters. Soon, Shao gave birth to a boy, who always fell ill after giving birth. Jin served her like a filial mother. Not many days later, Jin fell ill again. Her heart ached, and her face turned blue when she hurt. She wished she could die. Shao Nu quickly bought some silver needles and inserted them into her acupuncture points. Jin, who was in excruciating pain, immediately stopped feeling pain. If it happens again in 10 days, it will be pricked again. If it happens again in 6 or 7 days, it will be pricked again. This made Jin worried every day, fearing that he would do it again. One night, she dreamed of a temple. The ghosts and gods in the main hall were all powerful. One of the gods asked her, "Are you the Jin family? Your sins are too serious and you should have died long ago. Because you have shown repentance, I only let you go. You are sick, which means the gods condemn you. You have killed 2 women, and they deserve the retribution. But what is Shao's crime? You are so cruel to her. You beat her with a whip, and your husband has taken the place of the gods. Retribution has been given to you, and this can be offset. In addition, you still owe 1 branding and 23 acupunctures. Now Shao Nu has stabbed you 3 times, and you have just received 0 retribution. Do you want to eradicate your disease? It's time to do it again tomorrow. After waking up, Jin was scared and thought the dream was not credible. After breakfast, she really got sick again. And the pain was even worse. Shao Nu was also puzzled and said, "Why can't you just use acupuncture to get rid of the root of the disease? I think using a red-hot needle to burn the acupuncture points may be able to get rid of the root. But I'm just afraid that, madam, you won't be able to bear it." Mrs. Jin, I remembered the dream and was not afraid, so I agreed. As she was receiving the injections, she thought that she didn't know what kind of strange disease she would have to suffer from to compensate for the 19 injections she owed. It would be better to have enough injections in one day to avoid endless suffering. After pricking a stick of incense, she begged Shao Nu to do it again. Shao Nu laughed and said, "Did you just prick the needles randomly? You have to press the acupoints." Jin said, "What acupuncture points are there? You can prick them 10 times for me. Just 9 strokes." Shao Nu laughed again. No. Jin knelt down on the bed and begged, but Shao Nu couldn't bear it. Jin told her the dream, and she asked her to touch the effective spots on the meridians and give her 19 injections. Since then, Kim has fully recovered and has not relapsed. And because he was truly repentant and mentally balanced, he no longer looked guilty in front of his servants. Shao Nu's son is called Chai Jun, and he is extremely intelligent. Shao Nu often said that this child had the appearance of a scholar. At the age of 8, he was known as a child prodigy. At the age of 15, he won the Jinshi. This year, Chai Dingbin and his wife were 40 years old. Shao Nu is 32 or 13 years old. When the child becomes a high official, he goes home to visit his old parents with carriages and horses, and the villagers all praise him. Shao Nu's father has become rich since he sold his daughter for 1,000 gold. However, he was really looked down upon by scholars. It was not until Chai Jun became famous that anyone had any contact with him.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.